Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Functional Longevity Podcast, where we give you insight on how to get fit, feel younger, live better. I'm your host, Chris Porter, best-selling author and owner of Y.E.S Fitness. And let me first thank you for taking time from your busy day to listen to what I have to say. And before I get started, I also want to thank our sponsor, Y.E.S Fitness. Most people lose the ability to enjoy life as they age. At Y.E.S Fitness, we help people age 40 plus get fit so they can live longer and enjoy those years doing the things they love to do. Quick housekeeping here. If you want to head on over to yesfitnessct.com, hit the podcast button. It'll give you access to any one of our now 403 episodes. And you can also get this broadcast wherever podcasts can be found. The workout that makes stress easier to handle. Today, I want to talk about something I've been doing for years without realizing there was actually science behind it. Whenever I know something stressful is coming up, I often try to get a workout in beforehand. Maybe it's a podcast interview, a presentation for sure, an important meeting, difficult conversation, even a day that I know is going to be mentally demanding. I always found that when I exercise beforehand, I think more clearly. I feel more focused, and while the stressful situation doesn't go away, it doesn't seem to hit me as hard physically. Well, a new study suggests there may be a reason for that. And you know how much we love the research here. And what the researchers found is something I think every adult over 50 can use immediately. Most people think of exercise as stress relief, and that's true. But biologically speaking, exercise is actually stress. Your heart rate goes up, blood pressure increases, your body releases stress hormones, energy gets mobilized, your body is responding to a challenge. And now that might sound like a bad thing, but it isn't. The problem isn't stress. The problem is stress without recovery. The problem is stress that never shuts off. Researchers call this idea the Cross Stressor Adaptation Hypothesis. And it's a theory that exposing your body to one type of stress in a controlled environment may help it become better at handling other types of stress later on. Exercise becomes practice, a rehearsal for life. That's exactly what researchers wanted to investigate in a new year-long study. So they recruited 130 healthy adults between ages 26 and 58. Half of the participants were assigned to an aerobic exercise program. The goal was 150 minutes of aerobic exercise each week. And that's what the health associations all recommend, 150 minutes of aerobic exercise each week. Moderate intensity, actually. 2 supervised 1-hour workouts and 1 30-minute workout on their own. Most of the exercise was performed at a moderate intensity, although participants were allowed to work harder during some of the supervised sessions. The other group served as the control group. Now, here's where this study gets interesting. The researchers weren't simply asking whether exercise improved fitness. We already know that. Instead, they wanted to know if exercise changes how the body responds to stress. So they measured just about everything you can imagine: blood pressure, heart rate variability, inflammation, blood sugar, cholesterol, brain activity during stressful situations, emotional responses, and even something called hair cortisol. Now, if you've never heard of hair cortisol before, it's actually pretty fascinating. Most cortisol tests look at what's happening right now. Hair cortisol is different. Think of it like looking at your annual bank statement instead of today's balance. It provides a picture of how much cortisol exposure you've accumulated over several months. It's one of the better ways researchers can estimate long-term stress hormone exposure. So what happened? First, the exercise group got fitter. Of course, The cardiovascular fitness improved exactly as expected. No surprise there. But when researchers looked at most of the stress-related measurements, they found very little difference. The exercises weren't dramatically calmer. Their brains didn't respond significantly differently to stressful tasks. Most of the markers researchers measured stayed about the same. At first glance, that sounds disappointing. After all, if exercise is supposed to help us handle stress, why didn't everything improve? But there was one important exception. Hair cortisol levels decreased. That means over time, the exercise group was exposed to less cumulative cortisol. In simple terms, exercise appeared to reduce the overall burden that stress was placing on their bodies. And that's important because chronic exposure to elevated stress hormones has been linked to everything from poor recovery and sleep problems to cardiovascular disease and cognitive decline. And here's where the story gets really interesting. The researchers started asking whether they might have been looking at the wrong time frame. Maybe exercise doesn't permanently change the way we respond to stress. Maybe its biggest benefits occur immediately after a workout. And that's where another group of studies comes in. One study recruited 83 healthy young men. Participants completed 30 minutes of treadmill exercise. Some exercised lightly, some moderately, some vigorously. Then 45 minutes later, they were put through something called the Tier Social Stress Test. Now, that sounds complicated, but it's basically every person's worst nightmare. You have to stand in front of evaluators and deliver a speech while doing mental math under pressure. Researchers love this test because it reliably stresses people out. You're going to be stressed when you take this test. So what happened? The group that performed vigorous exercise before had a significantly smaller cortisol response. Their peak cortisol levels were lower. Their total cortisol production was lower, and they recovered faster afterwards. Think about that. The workout itself raises hormones. The workout itself raised stress hormones. But when the real stress arrived later, their bodies didn't overreact. That's a completely different way of thinking about stress resilience. The goal isn't to avoid actively activating your stress response. The goal is to activate it under controlled conditions and then recover from it. Exercise may essentially teach your body how to turn stress on and then turn it off. Another study looked at heart rate, blood pressure, and feelings of anxiety. The participants performed just 10 minutes of aerobic exercise before a stressful task. Compared to when they didn't exercise, they experienced lower heart rate responses, lower blood pressure responses, and fewer physical symptoms of anxiety. The stressful event didn't disappear, but their bodies handled it better. And that's the takeaway I think most people miss. Exercise isn't just helping you lose weight. It isn't just helping you build muscle. It isn't just helping your heart and lungs. It may actually be helping you become more resilient, more adaptable, more capable of handling whatever life throws at you. And when you think about it, that's exactly what functional longevity is all about. Most of us aren't worried about performing in an MRI machine while researchers watch our brain activity. We're worried about real life, doctor's appointments, work deadlines, family responses, financial stress, health concerns, life, just life. And what if one of the biggest benefits of exercise is that it helps you show up better for those moments? Not because it eliminates stress, because it lowers the physiological cost of stress. Now, before you start doing all-out sprints, before every stressful event, let's be smart. Exercise is still a stressor. If you're sleep deprived, sick, under-recovered, or already running on empty, piling up more stress may not be the right answer. The goal isn't exhaustion. The goal is controlled stress followed by recovery. That's why the recovery period matters. Hydrate, cool down, allow your breathing and heart rate to settle. Give your body time to transition from activity to recovery. Based on these studies, if you have a predictable, stressful event coming up, a good strategy might be 10 to 30 minutes of aerobic exercise, moderate to vigorous intensity. Then allow yourself 30 to 60 minutes to recover before the event. A brisk uphill walk, maybe a bike ride, a rowing session, some interval training, anything to get your heart rate up without completely draining you. I've been doing some of these versions of this for years, and now I understand why it works. Exercise may not make you stress-proof, but it may help make stress easier to handle. And in today's world, that's a benefit most of us could use. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend or a family member who could benefit from hearing it. And remember, exercise isn't just preparing you for your next workout. It may be preparing you for everything that comes after it. Till next time, stay strong, keep moving, and I'll give you more information on how to get fit, feel younger, and live better. Thanks for watching.